Alderman Boudreaux is going to do the pledge. Please silence your phones if you would, and please rise.
As I was reading the agenda, I was thinking about doing the invocation, and I think this past week I probably have more to be grateful for than all of us combined in this room. So just bow your heads, thanks God for our blessings, and I'm just going to recite the Lord's Prayer tonight. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us of our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sorry about that. Kane took a fall. Okay, starting out mayor announcements. Sandra, you've got something for, you want to? Eric?
Thank you, Dan, and we're glad to see you back and that you're doing so well. That Sandra's Life will keep being beautiful. Eric Gibbons with the fire department. That, as you all know, thank you. We're getting ready to start demolition where the old fire station is and build a new one. As part of the construction process, there will be a device that is called a Safe Haven baby box installed at the fire station. That the Louisiana legislature did change the law recently so that these types of devices are now legal and encouraged here in the state of Louisiana. Basically, it is a temperature-controlled and security alarmed box that is installed inside of the station with, think of it as a drawer that opens, and a person is able to surrender their infant anonymously. In the baby box, that personnel at the fire station are alerted literally immediately, if an infant is placed in the box. That in addition, 911 is contacted, Acadian ambulance is dispatched. I believe the sheriff's office, is also dispatched. That a third-party donor or organizer is required for this to raise the money for the box. Keep a Beat a Beautiful is a 501c3, so we stepped up to the plate, and we'll be doing the fundraising for the box. The cost is $16,000. We think that to save an infant's life, that it is well worth that price. So we do have a QR code where donations go directly to Safe Haven into an account that has been established in the name of the fire station. So I'm going to turn it over to Eric for a better explanation.
Good evening. As Ms. Sandra stated, during the construction process of the new fire station, we are going to have this Safe Haven baby box installed. I first got interested in it a few years ago when I discovered them on a social media platform and began doing some research on it, only to find out in the state of Louisiana we could not use it. Because the way the law was written, the infant had to be handed to an individual. Therefore, the box became, we couldn't use it. They did change the law to where now you can use it, and we do currently have 2 of them in St. Tammany Parish. Upon going to the Covington dedication of the baby box, I did research and found out on the Safe Haven website, the website that people are referred to that they would look at if they get in this situation. If you type in the Abita zip code, the only location that shows up is our fire station. So an individual wouldn't be aware of these other boxes that are available. So speaking with the founder of the organization, we determined that the best time for us to install one is during the construction phase of our station, because it cuts out the construction costs because it's already built in. You can find out all kinds of information about how the box actually works on their website. In fact, I was doing a little research today, and as of October 31st of this year, 12 babies have been surrendered in the baby boxes in 2025. So they are becoming, the awareness of them is becoming much more, and people are using them as intended. And my vision is that we have that resource available to any citizen that feels they need that resource. And that's why we are going forth with it.
Question that,
If y'all have any questions at all,
What fire stations are those children being left at? There were none here, huh?
so the fire station on Highway 36 next to the ball field, we are rebuilding it, yes. Services are not going to change. We acquired a piece of property next door to the fire station, and that's where the fire trucks and the firefighters will currently be housed. So none of our services are going to be affected by the construction of this facility.
His question was,
Oh.
where were those children, those infants being left?
Where were they being
What
left?
fire district?
They have safe haven baby boxes, I want to say in like 10 or 12 different states. So just.
So that's nationwide, 12 babies?
Correct. 12 of them nationwide.
Two in St. Tammany Parish?
I'm sorry?
Where are the two in St. Tammany Parish?
One of them's in Slidell, one of them's at Covington.
Okay, thank you.
and both of those boxes were installed in existing fire stations. They're in very public locations due to the fact that they had to find room in those stations to accommodate the box. Since we were able to address this with the architects when the building was being designed, that this baby box is going to be towards the back of the station. It is still well lit, but it is in a private area where someone truly can leave their infant in the box anonymously, and that, as opposed to leaving a baby in a field or a dumpster or.
Oh, it's an outstanding effort, it really is.
To kick things off, that anyone who does make at least $100 donation between now and Friday, that we do have, that you will receive a free ticket to a special concert that John Ginn and Nathan Summerall are giving on Sunday afternoon at their home in Abita Oaks. And, that light bites, Prosecco, kind of an intimate affair. So as seating, until we run out of seats. But if you, just show me proof that you made a donation between now and Friday, and we'll give you free tickets to that fundraiser. So, we definitely want, A, we want people to come to the concert. B, we want to kick things off, in terms of getting some donations, booked in that account that they have set up for us at Safe Haven. So, thank you.
Thank you, Captain Gibbons, and Sandra, thanks.
Dan, you may want to mention, I didn't put it in your announcements, but the sidewalk improvements, along with the front of town hall, that work and activity that's been going on.
Right, that's where I was going
Oh, okay.
before I was rudely interrupted.
Well, it wasn't in your
Just kidding.
list.
I'm just kidding. Something else we want to talk about. We've made some sidewalk improvements. If you walk Main and Level Street, you may have you may know where there's still some more. We didn't get them all, but we got a lot of them and re-leveled the areas where they were either, you know, being picked up by roots or whatever. So we made some of those, I guess it's probably about 15 of them, spots along the Level and Main Street sidewalk. And then if you've noticed the front of the building, it looks a little different. It's been painted and hardy planked, and we got windows on order. They should be here sometime in December, and they'll be put in, and then all the trim will be done in the dark forest, deep black forest green or something out of some color. And they re-puttied the columns and all that kind of stuff. So it's like a clean look for the front of the town hall. So they're finished. They're wrapping that up as well until the windows come. Then they'll be back.
It was insulated and resheeted too.
Yes, all of it was insulated, and then that was closed in and done right. So hopefully we'll be able to get to go down the sides, which would be nice. Maybe 2026. Okay. I'm getting ready to do roll call, but I do want to say that both Alderman Contois, who let us know at the last meeting that she wasn't going to be here, something with her son, and Alderman Tomplay is home sick, so, but we can call roll. Leanne?
Alderman Boudreaux?
Here.
Alderman Patterson?
Here?
Alderman Saucy? Still have a quorum.
Right. Okay, call for any agenda modifications? Hearing none, we'll move on. I need a motion to accept the 2025 Town Council meeting minutes.
So moved.
I have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. And then the August financial report. Ms. Cunningham, welcome.
Thank you.
Glad to have you back.
Oh, glad to see you back, too. Good evening. I'm here to present to you guys the financial statements for the 8 months ending August of 2025. So 8 months have gone by. This is all the expenses through the end of summer. So let's start with the general fund. Also, you'll notice that this budget that's included in here is the amended budget. So it was amended to account for any overages or underage that were occurring up until this point, and then anticipated revenues and expenditures that are going to occur through the rest of the year. So as you can see, starting on line 29 is your total operating revenue for your general fund. It's just over $1 million, and you're about 76% of your budget. Through August, you're looking at trying to hit a target rate of 67%. However, you are going to be, some accounts going to be above it, some will be below it, depending on when you receive your revenues. You know, just kind of skimming through your summary of revenues for the general fund, your ad valorem, as noted, you can always collect that at the beginning of the year, so that's always going to be most of your revenues there. So you'll see that it's going to be 99%. Some of your other rental fees, other fees are at 100%. But overall, and then some of your revenue, if you look on line 20, 21, and 23, those are all income of events that have already happened. So you've collected 100% of that revenue. So at the end of the day, your total operating revenues are $1 million, or 76% of your budget. Now, starting with your expenditures, on line 36 is your total public safety salaries and benefits. That's $167,000, or 67% of your budget. So that one's right on target. Then your other public safety expenditures on line 49 is at 36%, or 64%, $36,000, or 64% of your budget. Everything pretty much is in line with those expenditures. And then moving on to your clerk of court expenditures, that's on, the total is on line 55, that's $12,000 of actual, you're about 63%, and your total other clerk of court expenditures are $1,200 or 65%. On your general government expenditures, your total is on line 66 of $344,000 or 70% of your budget. And then you're on your governmental expenses, just the other governmental expenses, on line 87 is your total of $213,000 or 67% of your budget. And then you just have some other expenditures, that is, the total amount is on line 97 of $32,000 or 47%. Some of those items are at 100%, as you'll notice on line 90 for the Push Mower Parade and the autism event on line 92. So your total general fund expenditures are on line 99, which is $808,000 or 67%. And then you have a little bit of your capital outlay, which is on line 104 at $12,000. So then your total revenues, less your total expenses and your capital outlay, gives you a positive of $211,000, and that's on line 106. So those are what I just went over is for your operations, so your operating revenue, operating expenses. The next section is on funds that you are receiving that are dedicated for a specific purpose. So we kind of pulled those out. So it's a little bit different presentation. So those revenues are pulled out so that you can see how are you doing from an operational perspective. And then here's your dedicated revenues and then expenses associated with those dedicated revenues. So your total dedicated revenues are on line 111 of $552,000. These are your grant funds that you are receiving. And then on line 115 are the expenditures associated with some of those grants of $60,000, of which you've spent 100% of those of those expenditures. So your total, then you get some grant, some match for the Outdoor Forever program on 116. So your total grant expenditures are $62,000. And as you can look to see, your total dedicated revenues on line 111 is $552,000, and your expenses are 108 on line 118 is only 62. But some of those expenditures are going to be considered capital outlay, and so that's what's next. So your total capital outlay is on 122 of $680,000. So as you can see from this, your total dedicated revenues, you still need to collect some more of those dedicated revenues to fund some of those expenditures, whether they're going to be expensed or whether they're going to be capital outlay. So any questions on the general fund? So then next is the utility fund. So in the utility fund, your gas revenues are on line 7, which is at $537,000. You are a little bit above that 67% target at 71%. You know, your gas has been tending to run a little bit higher. It is probably going to trend lower, being warmer months coming up. Because keep in mind, this is through August. Your water revenues are on line 16 at $298,000 of revenue, and you're kind of pretty much on target there at 68%. Your sewer revenues on line 24 are $437 or 67%. Your garbage on line 29 is $285,000. And then your other revenues are on line 35 at $103,000 or 67%. So your total operating revenue from gas, water, sewer, garbage, and other revenues is $1.6 million or just under 70% of target. So on your expenditure side, just your general operating expenses of the water is on line 52, and that's $202,000 or 63%. Next is your gas. So you have gas salaries and benefits on line 57 at 94,000, and then just other gas operating expenses of 386,000, which is on line 62, and then line 63 is your total gas operating expenses of 481,000. And if you look above, the revenues that you're collecting for gas are 537,000. So your revenues are you being able to fund all these direct operations for gas. And then on your garbage, that's on line 66, that's at 261,000. You know, your garbage pickup for the residential is your largest expense. So your total expenses of 261,000 on line 66, and for garbage, your total revenues are 285,000. So what you're collecting for garbage is meeting all those direct expenses for garbage. And then your water, your total water salaries and benefits on line 71 of 144, and then other water operating expenses on line 75 of 51,000. So your total water operating is 196,000, and your water revenues are 298,000. So your water revenues are covering all those direct water expenses also. And then your sewer expenses on line 81 is your sewer salaries and benefits of 143,000. And then on line 89, your other sewer operating expenses of 149,000. So your total sewer operating expenses were 293,000. Your sewer revenues were 437,000. So you are meeting that sewer direct operating expenses. So if you'll notice on line 91 is your total operating expenses of 1.4 million. So each of these departments not only have to collect enough funds to fund the expenditures of those direct expenses, but they also have to fund the other operating expenses of the utility system. So your total operating expenses of 1.4 and your total operating revenues back on line 36 is 1.6 million. So you are meeting your operating expenses for water and sewer from an operation standpoint. Then you have these non-operating expenses that are noticed on the next page. So on line 100, you had 360,000 of non-operating expenses. The largest is the DEQ loan principal payment of 289,000, and then you also have the 20,000 principal payment for your 2019 bond payment. So that's making up a majority of those non-operating expenses. Now keep in mind they're being reported as an expense here, but typically what that is just a cash flow because it goes against the debt that's on the financial statements. So then you have some capital outlay, which there are no capital outlay here. And then you have that is paid, these capital outlays are paid from just operating expense revenue. But then you also have some dedicated revenues. So line 108, you have 356,000 of dedicated revenues that you're getting from a grant income, either DEQ, Water 6 sector, or ARP funding. So you receive 356,000. You have and spent so far 1.4 million on the water sector grant program. Keep in mind, some of that has been funded by cash that you already have. You had some ARP monies that had to be spent, and so those monies were spent for that project. So although you're seeing this large expenditure with not as much revenue to fund that, you did have existing monies that was used to fund that expenditure. In addition, you do have some monies that are going to be coming in to fund that expenditure. So any questions on water and sewer? So the next is Public Works. So in the Public Works, you have your total Public Works revenue on line 5 is 470,000, or about 66, 67%, so you're pretty much on target there. your shared sales tax revenue of $260,000 on line 8, and then some streetlight revenue on line 11 for $27,000. So your total revenues for Public Works is $758,000, or just at 67%, so it's on target. On your expenditure side, you had some lighting expenditures that are line 16 of $24,000, some shared sales tax expenditures, which are culvert-related, traffic circle repair, street repairs, all kinds of different repairs. That's on line 20 of $29,000. And then your total repairs and maintenance on line 26 of $64,000. So all of those are pretty much right on budget.
One question, please, for Leanne. Are we on schedule for the traffic circles with the contractor?
No, we're having difficulty with communicating with him. I've reached out to him, Ron has reached out to him. They have responded, but we haven't been able to get together to execute a contract or get any definitive date to move forward.
Then your Public Works salary and benefits on line 31 is at $136,000. Some other public work expenditures noted on line 47. So your total public work expenditures on line 48 of $258,000 are right on target at 65%. You have some capital outlay expenditures that are noted on line 53 of $451,000, and that's about 40% of budget.
For the capital outlay level Burbank project, year-to-date through August, $74,170. Have we finished with them so far? I mean, we've paid them out completely, right?
Yes, I believe in the next month or two, you'll see that wash out, and it'll fall right in line with the budget.
So we did spend the $269?
Yes. There was a retainage and a balance due, and that was paid.
All right, any other questions on Public Works? On Recreation, so your total revenues under Recreation, which is on line 8, is $122,000. You know, that's 87%, so that's a little bit higher than that target amount, but some of the revenues do come in front-loaded, such as ad valorem. And if you'll notice also on line 6 and line 7 were events that are 100%. So there's no anticipation of additional funds there. So then on your expenditure side, on line 17 is your total Park and Rec salaries and benefits of $43,000. Your other Park and Rec expenditures on line 29 of $50,000. So your total Park and Recreation expenditures on line 30 of $94,000. So you're a little bit higher than budget, or the target of 67%. But as you can see, some of those expenditures that are starred, which is on line 19 for the 4th of July event, and then the other event expenses, those are at 100%, and so is the St. Tammany assessor on line 27. So there is no additional expenditures that are expected for those line items, which is a reason why it does kind of pull it up for past that 67% target. And then your museum expenses, it's on line 34, is at $10,000, which is about 56%. And if you'll notice a little bit on the revenue side, you did have museum income of $18,000. So your income is being able to pay for these expenses. So your total expenses on line 35 is $105,000. You do have some, so that's from an operational standpoint. So from an operational standpoint, your total revenues are $122,000 with total expenditures of $105,000. So your revenues are being able to fund all expenditures. You do have some dedicated revenues that you had for a grant income of $150,000, and then there was an expenditure associated with that of $145,000. So the 150 is 100% collected. So any questions on Recreation? on your cemetery, so your total revenues on cemetery, which includes your plot sales and your interest income, is on line 3, which is at 23%. And then your salaries and benefits on line 8 of 4,400. Your total expenditure, your other expenditures on line 11 of 8. So your total expenditures of 12,479 or 40% of budget. So you're pretty much being able to meet budget for both, for the cemetery. And then the last fund is your debt service fund. So your total revenues were 145,000. Your ad valorem is pretty much 100% collected. Don't anticipate much more ad valorem, if anything. Your interest income, you will collect a little bit more of interest income. And then on your expenditures, your debt service fund pays for the principal and interest payments of the bond. So your principal payment has already been paid. Your interest expense, you had $3,000 of interest expense. And then you also had some interest expense, which is on line 9, and principal payments on 8 and 9, and that's all paid off. So your total expenditures were $116,000 with total revenues of $145,000. So you really should not anticipate any more additional expenses in your debt service fund with very little income that is going to come in for your debt service fund. It's really going to be the interest that you'll be collecting on the cash that you have. And that's all I have, unless anybody has any other questions.
Great. So thank you for continuing to highlight those with the asterisk that are 100%. And ad valorem, you may get a little bit by November, December, but 2% hold back.
Yeah. All right, thank you, guys.
Okay, let's move on. New business, consideration of a resolution providing for the redemption of the outstanding utilities revenue refunding bonds, Series 2004, of the town of Abita Springs, State of Louisiana, providing for the matters in connection with therewith. This is, we just need a motion, motion to adopt it. This is the paying off of the 2004 bond that we're trying to pay off. Is that correct?
How much is it?
I don't have the precise payoff. We reached out to Mitzi at Citizens, and she is calculating the figure. It's in the neighborhood of $115,000, but we will have that exact figure. And we're working in coordination with the bond attorney to make sure that this is all handled properly.
Okay.
We also have just about that amount in savings, correct, for that particular account. So
Yes.
Yes, we do.
the money's there, it's not
Yeah,
money that we have.
I agree, I agree.
Okay, so Alderman Saucy has
I'll second it.
has made the first
I'll second.
and the second. So we need a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Consideration passes. Okay, number 2. Introduction. This is just an introduction of an instrument 2025-11-001. The ordinance, the Board of Aldermen, Town of Abita Springs, amending the operating budget of revenue and expenditures for the year beginning January 1, 2025 and ending December 31, 2025. This adjustment that we made here is the money that we feel quite sure that we're going to need to get us through the end of 2025, correct?
For the wastewater treatment
For the
plant.
wastewater treatment plant.
I sent an email to the aldermen advising them that we're trying to manage what we owe to the contractor through the end of this fiscal year. We have an outstanding bill of $1.6 million that we have to pay, in addition to in the neighborhood of another $590,000 for October, and in anticipation of another $650,000 for November. So we're going to be running this project from December into January, and this is our closest estimation of what expenses we'll be responsible for the wastewater treatment plant through the end of December, the end of this fiscal year. And this is an introduction. The public hearing will be held at our next meeting, and the consideration of the adoption of the amendment will take place at that time.
Now, we had all that in a loan, right? All that for that wastewater treatment plant,
This is a grant,
a grant.
water sector
So
program.
we have the money in the grant. We have to pay it and then get it back.
Well, currently, they've adjusted the method by which they do it. So we have submitted to water sector program a request for payment prior to having to pay $1.6 million. For a small municipality like ours, it's difficult to pay that money up front. So they've made an adjustment to the program that allows us to submit a request for payment prior to paying the contractor. But the contractor is patient, but only so patient. So we need to do what we can to try to move these things along.
That was, I didn't really get into the funding of that project. The projects were going along very nicely. I mean, the timeline's on and everything. All the engineers are working on it fine, you know, it's great. I just didn't know about the payment, how they were gonna do that. So,
Yeah.
So we're
So
gonna
they've
get-
done the work. They've done the work.
Right.
They've sent us a bill.
Right.
Now we need to pay it.
okay, well, hopefully we can get the money if they'll be patient.
Yeah,
Well, they have to be. We
Yeah.
can't pay them until we get the money.
right.
Leanne, would you kindly repeat those figures? 1.6 million has or has not been paid?
1.667 million we've been invoiced for and has not been paid.
Right.
And then what was the other two figures, the 500 and the
590, was it? Do you have the exact figure there, Danette, in front of you?
Yes, the
Pay app.
pay app 11 that we just got is for $592,325.
And the second one was 600 and something?
That's purely an estimate. The $650,000, we contacted the contractor today to ask for his best guess on where he would be at the end of the month, and that's the figure he gave us. And of course, we'll get another invoice for December, but that most likely won't come until January of 2026.
So,
The timeline went across that
Right.
year anyway, so it was
Yeah.
good.
so right now at pay app 7, this project is roughly 64%. And the large pay app we had, pay app 10, was mainly for the mechanical wastewater treatment plant, literally the plant itself. And that is at 83% right now. And that was the largest cost that we had into this, was the actual plant itself.
The invoices that we had been receiving prior to this 1.2 and the 1.6 were more in the neighborhood of $300,000, $400,000. But we're getting close to the end of the project now. It's estimated that the amount of work that will be done by the end of the year is going to be just a little over $5 million, and the entire value of the contract is $5.8 million.
We're in the homes from scratch.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was out there today. I mean, if anybody wants to go out and look, they can call Josh and kind of set up a schedule where he can get you out there. But all the piping and the tank itself is in place. They're pouring cement for the generator and the two blowers to be anchored down. They'll probably pour that tomorrow, I'm thinking, because they were finishing all the wire today.
Well, that's good.
So they're moving pretty quick.
So this amendment addresses just those line items related to the wastewater treatment plant. It adds approximately $2 million in revenue and expenses to cover us through the end of 2025. Again, it's our best guess as to where we're going to be at the end of the year.
So they were gonna take some pictures of the inside of that tank. I wonder if they ever did that.
I don't know, I'll find out tomorrow.
Ask them if they'd ever, and we'd like to see maybe some pictures of the outside, show the people, you know? That'd be
We can put
good.
something together.
Good. Show them on this board here.
We can get Angie and Taylor to go take pictures.
And we picked
Angie
the
will get
color.
in.
We picked the color of the exterior of the tank, and it's going to be like a light gray, green color. We didn't want to go too dark with the color because there'd be a lot of heat gain with that, but too light might look kind of messy with splash over, so we
It's gotta
tried to
be,
do,
it's gotta be environmentally pleasant.
yeah.
Right, Nanette? The paint. Sir? It was a reflection.
Yeah, we paid a lot of attention to the factor that gives the heat, and we wanted to make sure that we picked a paint that reflected a lot of heat and didn't keep all of that equipment, especially the railings and stuff that were on top of the plant that the guys had to be in contact with. We certainly didn't want to put something up there that would retain a lot of heat.
We didn't want it baking out there.
No bacon.
Yeah, and there are certain colors that they choose for certain industrial coatings, you know, certain pipes are different colors, certain applications, and that's well within the range of what would be appropriate for the exterior of the tank.
Right.
All right, well, I will move for introduction of instrument 2025-11-01.
Okay, then we'll move on to the next. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, first and a second, there you go. We don't have to vote.
Introduction.
Okay, moving on, number 3. This is another introduction of the instrument 2025-11-02. An ordinance of the Board of Aldermen, Town of Abita Springs, adopting operating budget of revenue and expenditures for the year beginning January 1, 2026, and ending December 31, 2026. Again, this is just the introduction of that.
So this instrument has the same figures that were given to the aldermen during the last meeting we had, with the exception of the utility fund, where we took your recommendations and we increased the revenues that would be collected from online payment processing fees. We split that revenue between water and sewer repairs and maintenance. It was roughly $12,000, so there's a slight difference in that utility fund. You have a copy of it in your packet. The other fund that changed according from the original information was a capital projects fund. Originally, when I looked at the numbers initially, it did not appear that engineering, construction engineering and inspections was included, and that would be something we would have to pull out from LAMP. But when I went back with Leanne and discussed it, it was determined that the existing CWS,
SRF,
sorry,
Clean Water State Revolving.
that approval that we've gotten does cover those fees. In addition, when we applied for capital outlay, those covered those fees. So that fund has been changed to remove any dedication of existing LAMP funds to pay for the Keller Street lift station and the Abita East Sewer Force Main. Those are the only two changes, and those are in your packet tonight.
Okay, well, we'll have to look at that.
And that'll be discussed at upcoming meetings.
So again, this is just an introduction tonight, and I didn't schedule the public hearing until the December 14th, I mean, what is it?
16th.
16th.
16.
The public hearing or the consideration for adoption, so that could give you guys, after introduction tonight, another opportunity to have a discussion about the proposed 2026 budget at the December 2nd meeting.
Do you want to share that recap I did?
If you want to. I mean, it's an. Did you guys have any questions or?
Just on Danette's comment, so at Thursday's meeting, the $1+ million that was gonna come out of LAMP is no longer coming out of LAMP?
What is in the 2026 budget to come out of LAMP is the projected 150,000 pump and haul and the 196,000 that we need for the Highway 36 well refurbishment. Those will be the only two amounts coming out
Not
of
the
the LAMP funds.
the 400 and something and the 500 and something that we discussed on Thursday?
No, sir.
Okay.
And we may have to make amendments in 2026 because we talked about removing that because we know that the Clean Water State Revolving Fund loan has been approved in the sense that they said you can go through the process with your bond attorney and they can do a 10-year projection and make sure you're in good, solid condition to be able to repay the debt. But that's a process, and I've reached out to him. We're initiating that process. But those numbers have to bear out to where we do have the proper debt ratio in order to be able to do that. And if it turns out to where money is tight, there's a couple of different options that, that we can pursue. Unfortunately, one of them would be another utility rate increase to accommodate covering that debt. We have two projects involved in that application. One is for the Abita East Force Main. The other is the Keller Street Lift Station. If it's determined that we're not eligible to get the entire $3.75 million, we may have to delete one of those or reduce the scope of it in 2026. And we don't know how much work we're going to be able to accomplish in 2026. Both of those projects will have to be publicly bid. There's design and engineering, and then, contract negotiation, and then initiation of the construction project. So it may be that we get started in 2026 and we don't finish until 2027. So those are all variables that we're going to have to work through as we go throughout the year, next year.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to talk about tonight, if I can, I don't know what it is. I guess I can wait till open to talk about.
Let's close this out with,
All right, I'll move for the introduction of instrument 2025-11-02.
Second.
we have a first and a second.
It moves. Okay, now you can go to.
Old
Okay.
business. No, you gotta close out new
Yeah,
business.
old business? Yeah,
Close out new business.
yeah, well, we did, it's, yeah.
It's closed.
So, old business, we have none. We'll move into the open section, so,
what I want to talk about is, concerns the budget. I see that we separated the marshal out. That was great. I really appreciate that. That's working God. Now I was looking at the, Times-Picayune Metro section on, November the 15th, and I see that, we're having a big, discussion about shared sales tax throughout the parish. And there's 6 municipalities that get shared sales tax. Abita is one of them. And so I'd like to separate that out in our budget so we can very clearly have a good, clear audit trail about where that money goes. Because I'm pretty sure that after reading that article that we're going to get audited for that shared sales tax, and we don't want to lose that money. So I'd like to see if we can separate that out very clearly so we have a good, clear audit trail on how that money's being used. Now, I know Michelle says it's all coded and everything like that, but it's still mixed in with,
Public Works.
with Public Works and lighting. And so that leaves doubt about whether or not it's being used correctly. So if we take that out and let it ride the way it's supposed to go, I think we'd be better off. We do cost allocations and all that sort of thing, but that's doubtful. It creates doubt. So
are you looking for what is actually done with the shared sales tax money?
yeah,
Because
exactly.
there's only certain things that you can do.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
So-
Roads and
Roads,
Drainage.
drainage.
Right. So we have to be real meticulous about keeping track of what we're doing with that.
Yeah, commingling that, I think, is not a good idea. We didn't commingle this until this current year. It's always been separated out. The previous administration was audited a few times on that. This is a shared sales tax that's going to expire. Is it 2030 or 2035? When is it? 2030?
I don't remember.
This is going to expire. The last thing we want to do is have a negative on this, so keep it separated, keep it clean, and hopefully, if we do anything, let's try to get this renewed, get it renewed early
So,
for another
Danette,
15, 20 years.
is this line 93, the shared sales tax, on our budget instrument?
In the Public Works Fund, the shared sales tax is shown on line 6 revenue. And,
No, in the instrument.
oh, in the instrument, yes, in the instrument is also for the 2026 budget.
That's what we need to pull up the instrument.
many packets here.
And Leanne, that 93, that's dedicated sales tax and interest revenue from that dedicated sales tax or other interests?
I'm looking on the budget instrument, which is not your budget
So,
to actual.
so line 93 on the budget is the dedicated sales tax. That is the shared sales tax and also the interest that we get from the account where we have some of those funds in LAMP accounts. And then on line,
Well, I'm sorry, Danette, when you said some of those funds, so the shared sales tax, which is line 93, that's in a LAMP account by itself or with others?
it is in a LAMP account by itself.
Okay, so 100% of the.
That's how the
100
interest is allocated to the shared sales tax and not to the general public works or to the lighting fund.
So could we call that shared sales tax instead of dedicated sales tax, so it's perfectly clear that that is separate, or is that mixed with other sales tax? That's what I was asking.
It is not mixed with any other sales tax.
Okay.
It is the restricted shared sales tax.
So we could refer to it as dedicated shared sales tax and interest revenue and dedicated shared sales tax. And we can make that amendment, and that way it'll be clearly allocated.
I just wanted to bring that to your attention that there's a parish group looking at all this stuff, so be aware.
Do you know who that is?
I do not know who it is.
There's a huge group looking at the funds right now for the parish in every department.
Okay.
You guys, I
We-
mean,
Yeah.
it's in the news, it's everywhere.
So each of these growth revenue and sharing agreements that the different municipalities have drafted and entered into with the parish read a little bit differently. Ours says for the benefit of. Over the years since I've been here, the parish has gotten involved on a number of occasions to more clearly define what that means. I don't know if you guys remember Trilby Lenfant, who used to work for the parish, and then she went to work for Mandeville. She's come here and had meetings with us on several occasions, and we have communicated and gotten counsel from legal to make sure that we have been handling this particular aspect appropriately.
Okay.
But we certainly can make it more clear in these instruments as to what it is and what it's being used for. If, if that helps the auditing trail.
Yep, that's
I
what
think
we,
we ought to try and get a seat at the table with them and talk about ours that's getting ready to come up. It should have been renegotiated already. Maybe see if we can get a little bigger piece of the pie.
A little bigger piece of the pie, or at least get it renewed for another 15 years.
Get the whole pie.
Or both. I like
One or
both.
the other.
Get both.
We've had a few fights over the years over a couple of things, like where the cash register is placed in a new business.
Where's the
So-
cash register's more than 300 feet from the,
we're getting
Center
a
of
lot
the
of new
road.
businesses along that corridor there going out to the interstate.
yeah, it drops off like, we 50/50 and then we get 10% and 1%, 1/100th of a percent. And it's just,
Yeah, we've,
I'd also like to look at and see if we're getting the right amount out of Walgreens. I don't know if they're giving us the right amount for the town, but
they are.
they are, trust me.
And, that is something that is highly confidential and private information. So we do check these things and verify and make sure. We're trying to work on, with limited staff, it's sometimes challenging, but we want to make sure that people who are paying sales tax have occupational licenses, and people who have occupational licenses, if they are supposed to be paying sales tax, are. So we have to cross-reference those.
it's good to work a little bit short-staffed.
Oh,
And
according
nobody
to
gets
you.
bored.
Speaking of sales tax, our Winn-Dixie is becoming Rouse's, if y'all have not heard.
Yep.
At 59 and 12.
Well, that was coming.
No,
No,
it's on the other side of the
other side of 12.
We stop at 12 on the north side. And it's very, very little. I mean, like, it would be one hair out of your beard, that's it. It's very little, very little.
A beard hair,
one
a
hair
bed,
out of the big-
a beard hair of money.
A beard, hair, of money.
Okay, so opens. Go ahead.
There we go, let's do it.
Let's do.
Up and running. There you go.
I guess I'm gonna, since this is the open, I'm gonna get started, even though it was just an introduction of my spin on some budget items on which I do have a spin. There are three things which concern me, so I'll just list them to start with. One is the cemetery fund and its need for more funds. Two is I strongly object and feel it's wrong to be charging for the credit card use. And third is a little more complicated about the amount of money that is brought in or not brought in by the gas.
What was your number 2 again?
Okay,
Payments, yeah.
I'll go into that in a little more detail, I guess. The when someone pays by credit card, the sources I've consulted all seem to agree that they are saving you money. They're saving money because there's less processing involved, the payments are more timely, and there's less risk of bad checks.
You finally
Or-
wore it out, Stuart.
Or counterfeit bills. And so that amount is actually more than the 3%, and that's why a lot of businesses and nonprofits and whatnot are happy to switch to credit cards. And what the town is proposing to do is, instead of passing on any savings, to charge extra. And I think that's simply wrong.
But if the town is being charged.
No, I'm saying that if you're going to pay, you've got to pay either cash or check or credit card, and then there's other. But with those three, cash is probably the most expensive. Checks are expensive to handle on the receiving end. So if you get a credit card, you're not having those expenses, but you do pay 3%. But, I think it was mentioned at one of the other meetings that the credit actual percentage varied, but it supposedly is between 1.5% and 3.5% for. But the cost of handling cash has been estimated between 4.7 and 15.3% by some sources. Checks between $2 and $4 and up to $20 just to handle these checks. So all that is hidden in our personnel costs and other costs of, I'm not sure where things like bad checks would show up, or delays, but all that is kind of hidden, while the 3% or so from the credit card company is out in the open, so people are jumping on that. Now, a lot of restaurants do it, but you don't see a lot of businesses do it. You see restaurants in particular, because it's the same as the tips and tax. They're trying to hide the cost in their menu, so they can keep their menu down, and they just throw in stuff at the end. But we're not doing that, and we shouldn't be doing that. We should be charging the correct amount, and if we save money, we should, if anything, pass it on. One of the ways we could do that would be, if we wanted to give a discount if you pay by a debit card, because they don't charge fees on the debit cards, and then you're really saving money. So I think it's just a wrong thing to do, to be charging people for saving you money.
Let me make sure I understand you correctly. So you're saying if the credit card company is charging the town 3%, we should not charge the person using the credit card?
Yes, exactly. Because
So you're saying the town should absorb the 3% for the credit card user?
the town would actually be paying more than that 3% if they didn't use a credit card.
So the alternative, you're saying, cost more than passing that
Like
on?
I'm saying that
And
if
just
they-
to further support that a little bit, Stuart, we have noticed since we've made this service available to the public that our collections have gone down. And we do have a person in the office that calls people and talks to them about their payment being late and putting notices on their door and having to disconnect services. And we've experienced less late payments since we've had this service in place.
Yes, I mean, you have to look at the overall thing. The town's only getting so much from people, and they would get less if the people were paying by check or by cash, because the expenses would be higher. We reduce the town's expenses by taking the credit cards, even if we pay 3%, because they're real efficient and they're fast and convenient.
We just haven't been able to determine what the actual hidden costs are to the town. Those are estimates, and I know that there are certain organizations that provide those estimates, that it's $4 to process a check or a certain percentage to handle cash. Those are indirect costs, and it's hard to quantify.
Right, and it's hard, not just hard to quantify, it's hard to see when you look at the budget. But they're there, and you shouldn't ignore them and just go for this thing that's obvious out there, because it's not fair to the people paying their bills.
Did you say earlier that cash was the most expensive?
I believe it is.
That's interesting. Everything I'm reading on the internet says cash is the most effective way to use it.
Well,
Is that Louisiana cash or U.S. cash?
this is from Plains Capital Bank. I'm not sure who they are. And it's cost, there's security, there's counting, there's transportation. I've seen that in action at Oktoberfest, which I go to a lot.
You do, you have to make more bank runs because you have more cash and all that, and there are
Yeah, and
other
it takes
stuff. There are other
personnel, and it
expenses.
takes security, and it's just the time counting and
Right.
recording and putting it in, and it all adds up.
Yeah.
But it's not easy to see.
Well, as we move forward with credit card type stuff, I mean, we'll look into that before we make any type of decision. So, but I mean, it's not etched in stone yet. We have a split now, but whether we go the whole 3% or 4% or whatever it is or not, that hasn't been decided yet.
Well, I'm arguing for giving a discount instead.
And I guess it would also, once we see if we were to implement those additional charges, if participation decreased, if people stopped using that type of service, then that would be something that we would want to look at as well.
I guess there'd be a consideration, but it doesn't bear on whether it's fair to make them pay more for saving you money.
My wife said she's not paying with no credit card if she's got to pay a fee. That's what she said. She'll get up and bring it.
I'll leave the details of my other stuff for the next.
Thanks, Stuart. Anybody else?
Yeah, I got one more thing.
No, okay. All right, well,
Thank Angie for setting all these tables up. I thought I was gonna have to do it in the morning, but
No,
some sweet person has already set these things up.
we take care of you. We try to take care of you. Mike, you up? You got something? Oh, okay. Sandra, don't be long. You've already kind of used your time. Yeah. It's dead.
The only thing I've got is that there's a glass recycling day on Saturday from 9 to 11. We'll be set up right outside the town hall annex from 9 to 11. So you can bring your clean glass bottles and jars. We don't need the lids. We are also doing recycle what? So if you've got healthcare, beauty care, empty bottles, packaging, oral care products, old tools from, I think, 6 different manufacturers, excuse me? If you give us batteries, that we're just going to take them over to Battery World over by PetSmart, that on the second Saturday in January, we're doing e-waste, and that when we do e-waste, we will definitely be collecting batteries, printers, computers, monitors, TVs, all of those kinds of things. So it'd be better if you could save batteries until that second Saturday in January when we're doing electronic waste collection day. So this Saturday, glass and the other recycle what items.
Was it lemonade,
Hmm?
the glass thing, lemon tree.
Lemon Tree, yeah, Lemon Tree Recycling. And, and that Lemon Tree Recycling is working very closely now with Glass Half Full, now that they have their brand new facility located in St. Bernard Parish. That, so we can look for some other additional services perhaps from Lemon Tree in the future. So we hope to see you all on Saturday. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Anybody else? I have that motion there to close. I have a first.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Stop. And shut off.